The planning has been a long-term process. Thinking back to probably 2017, to be honest with you, at least 3 years, if not longer than that, we started thinking about, what would it be like to have a centralized location here in Knoxville where we could coordinate services for people early in the recovery process. And where could it be? Where should it be located? There were all kinds of factors that we looked at because we wanted it to be a place that was accessible to anyone, whether they had access to transportation or whether they didn't. And it needed to be a place where it wasn't institutional feeling, but it was more of a welcoming, anyone's welcome here kind of feel, but yet not stigmatized too. So in looking at that, we really started looking at the continuum of care that we see in our community specifically. So of course we always focused on the prevention side of things, which of course is extremely important, and we're going to continue to do that. But we also recognized that there was a huge gap on the other end of the continuum around recovery and recovery supports.
I remember us loading up that morning in a van provided by a local treatment center, and there was a group of us that had been collectively discussing, working on, planning, trying to find a way to articulate to the people in our community our vision. And we had touched base with Missy Owen at the Zone and asked to go down and do a tour. And I think what we were looking for on that trip down there was just, we wanted to walk into a place and see what we had been talking about for so long. I remember pulling in the parking lot, remember everybody unloading in the rain, and when they opened the doors up and we walked in that place, we found it. For me personally, it was a feeling. I could see what we had been talking about, but it was the smiles that came from the people that were behind the welcome desk. And my thought was, if I was a person new to the process and I walked in this door, I would feel welcome here. Because we were strangers. They didn't know us. They didn't know in that moment what we were there for. We just walked through the door and we were greeted with a smile, and it felt like a safe place. And then the further we walked through the building, the more real our vision became. We saw what we had been talking about and what we had been dreaming of for the entire process of planning the Gateway. We found it in the Zone. And then here come all the people in recovery attending meetings, and we're in the coffee shop and we're talking to Missy about her vision and where all this came from, how it originated in some pain and some loss, and what it had turned into. And it's exactly what we were wanting for our community in Knoxville, because we've experienced the pain, we've experienced the loss here, not as specifically as she has, but there are many stories like hers here, and we've been looking for the same thing. How do we take all of that pain and all of that hurt and turn it into something beautiful in our community?
How can we create a space where, even if you're not in recovery, you're not uncomfortable walking in the building? And so part of our strategy in planning this and finding this facility was also finding a place to move our headquarters for Metro Drug Coalition. Because when people come and meet with me, or they meet with other staff who are doing prevention work, they're going to have to walk through the Gateway to come and see us. And so that helps to destigmatize the disease of addiction. So we were looking for a 2-story building, one with the first floor, that could be completely utilized as a recovery resource center. And then the second floor would be more administrative offices. And so, we prayed a lot about it. We started networking in the community, saying we're looking for a building. Here's the square footage we're looking for. Here's, the area, needs to be on a bus line, all of those things. And to be honest with you, it all came about from just a very informal conversation one day with a former colleague of mine, and we'd reconnected, and he was asking me what was going on with MDC. And so I told him we were looking for a building. And so probably was about 3 weeks after that, he gives me a call, and he says, I may have a building for you. And so here I sit now in this building that was owned by very philanthropic business leaders in our community who gave us an awesome deal on this building.
I need to sit here and say these things to be reminded of the miracles that took place in regard to the building that we're sitting in right now. I mean, this stuff came from Karen continuing to have the conversations with people in our community about what we were looking to do here, and then she has this random conversation with somebody who introduces her to the right people that were philanthropic enough just to even sit down with us and hear what our vision was, and then allow us to come. We had the same experience with this building that we had with the Zone. We walked in the door and we said, this is it. We know this is it. And then we were quoted a price, and we didn't know, like, how in the world will we ever come up with the kind of money to even purchase the deal that they were offering us on this building then? Because we'd looked at other stuff and it was millions of dollars. When we found buildings that were suitable for what we were trying to do, it just seemed it seemed a lot like the beginning of the recovery process. It seemed impossible. It seemed like we could not do it. But when people have these visions, and they have this drive to take care of people and serve people, the pieces of the puzzle come together like they're supposed to. It's just a small picture of what we look to do on a larger scale here. That couple came through the door and they'd been IV using fentanyl in a hotel room for weeks. And it was people that we had helped in the past. And they got disconnected in their process. And somehow they knew that we could help them. And they came through this door. They sat in this room. And we got them a plan in place for treatment, for housing post-treatment. Our regional overdose prevention specialist drove here from an hour away to do a Narcan training with them and sent them back to that motel room until they went to treatment, equipped with some life-saving tools should they need them. The gentleman made a referral to me yesterday, because this was months ago, and he stayed in his process. He's working full-time in the treatment center that we referred him to. That's some of the stuff that we began doing. We opened up an all-recovery meeting, because when we were there with Missy, we said, what's the most heavily attended thing that you do here? And she said, our all-recovery meeting is heavily attended because it's an open-door policy for anybody. Anybody can come in and not feel stigmatized or feel like there's a line drawn in the sand. So many people come, and many agencies bring their people for our all-recovery meeting. And we, in connection with the recovery coaching platform that we had adopted, an all-recovery meeting was a perfect fit. So we started hosting all-recovery meetings. And the all-recovery meetings started ballooning out of this room. It was too small. So we had to move into an adjacent room. Sat in an all-recovery meeting in this room with family members of people with lived experience, people in active addiction. We had pharmacy students sitting in here in the meeting. And that was, again, a small picture of what we look to do on a larger scale. And it was becoming well attended. We talked in here one day about, we were seeing a lot of syringes around the building. We were seeing a lot of trash, a lot of stuff that we needed some help that one person couldn't just take care of on their own. So we just put it out in the all recovery meeting. Hey, we're going to have a cleanup here next Saturday before the meeting if anybody would like to come. And there were dozens of people here. We went through a 40-count bag of construction contractor garbage bags and filled a truck and a trailer up with, and this was not just in our parking lot, but just around this community in this area. And we safely picked up and discarded syringes that were all over the place. And what we tried to do is make this positive print that day and kind of keep it going from there. And it was well attended. The people were thankful. That's the thing. When people come to help you do something like that, and then afterwards they thank you, it's just that effect that we're looking for here, that when you give something back here, it does something for you, it does something for the community, and it just keeps going and it builds on itself. The hope is that this will be that that social atmosphere that fills in the gaps in between the programmatic pieces as well. So we want somebody to be able to walk through the door and say, I might just want to come here and have a cup of coffee today, or attend a yoga class. The idea is to have a fully functioning gym like the Zone has here, to have a room where somebody could go in and either attend an art therapy class or just go in and paint. That being therapy in and of itself. Have the easels there for them to be able to do that. Have the music room where folks can, because we do this thing when people come into the recovery process, they played guitar in a band, we tend to say things like, you got to let that part of your life go, because we don't play music in bars anymore. You know, we don't hang out with the folks we used to hang out with anymore. Well, we want to have a place where you can continue something that if it's that important to you, we want it here for you to be able to connect to it here in a safe and secure place with like-minded individuals that are looking to go down the same path that you're looking to go down.
My aspirations for the Gateway is really that it becomes a welcoming, a haven of sorts for people in recovery. And then it's a place that they want to be at and they want to engage with, whether it's people in long-term recovery who want to give back by coming in and volunteering, or whether it's people, you know, either looking to get in a treatment process or also, you know, are early in the recovery process, who are eager to connect and eager to learn new skills and want to change their lives, and to be able to open the doors and see that people, you know, want to come here and they appreciate it and they're growing and you can see their growth every day.
If I close my eyes and I think about it, I think about somebody coming through the door, walking up to the help counter here and getting those same smiles that we got at the Zone when we walked through the door. I want people to come here and have that feeling that we had when we walked in and say, this is it. I'm safe here. I want people to be able to come through the doors of this building and see hope. I want them to be able to see the hope that they were looking for. I want them to see the gap filled that exists in their life. I want them to pull into this parking lot and realize this is a safe place for me to continue my process. These people get it. And to see people getting better. We see better, we do better. I want people to be able to come here all day, every day, and not be for an hour, and not be once a month, and not be quarterly. It be daily, that you can come here, you know where to go. You know where you're going to be safe. To start the process off, coming through the door and get a hug and that smile. That's what I envision is. And we have the staff to do that across the board, from the top down, from the bottom up. MDC we are those people. We have been for a long time. We just haven't had the brick and mortar spot to be able to do that. So we want the energy that MDC has, the love and the care that MDC has. We want MDC to be able to provide that at a place all day, every day, open to the community, and just receive people with smiles.
So we kicked off in October of 2019 with a breakfast to kick off a capital campaign to raise the funding that we needed to renovate the Gateway. Things were going along pretty smoothly on the fundraising side, and then of course COVID-19 hit our community.
It's my favorite quote lately. It's a Mike Tyson quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's what COVID did here. It punched us right in the face. So we followed and abided by everything that the community here was asking for. We worked from home. We stayed at home as much as possible. We distanced as much as possible. And we looked at how do we recreate at least the recovery meeting virtually. We continued to serve and have continued to serve. We were still getting people into treatment. We're still paying deposits and getting people into sober housing. We're coaching individuals. We've never stopped doing any of that stuff. But we felt the pains of not being able to be there present with our people here in this building.
But every dollar given, you know, when you pull it together, it can create big lasting change. And that's the thing, you know, a $5 gift for someone who is barely getting on their feet, you know, is a huge sacrifice for them. And so we value every single dollar. We're not just looking for the big gifts. even though we need those too. We need everyone to come together and put whatever they can into this. And we know it's a sacrificial gift, especially right now due to COVID-19.
The tendency during a time of fear like this is people tend to tighten their grip on what they have. It's just like standing on the beach and reaching down in the sand. If you reach down in that sand and you pull up a handful of sand and you close your grip around it, all you've got is what you've got your grip on, and then you start to see just little bits seeping out from between your fingers. But if you reach down in that sand and you come up with an open hand and you're giving, then you've got this abundance, and it's just pouring off your hand, and it's plenty for everybody and plenty for you too. Somehow during this time we got to be able to continue to loosen our grip and to give. We have to believe that if we give, it's going to be given back to us. We can't operate out of fear right now. This is something that given to helps right now and will help in the future.
For every dollar you give to this project, you're going to get a whole lot in return. So I would strongly encourage people to, prayerfully consider, what they feel like is appropriate for them and their families to be able to give. And then know that it's going to go to a cause, and we're going to stretch those dollars as far as we can to help as many individuals as possible in this community. Sooner we can get this building open and serving the community, the better we're going to be as a community.